With the healthcare law going full force, now comes some new rules for employers and employees.
And Robert Lehrer with Insperity explains the new employee benefits law going into effect next month. So thanks for joining us. I know we're going to need a lot of explanation because a lot of people are confused about what the new changes are. So what we hear is now that part-time workers have to be paid like benefits for sick leave. Is that correct?
Oh, not only part-time workers, but temporary workers are going to have to get paid, and seasonal workers as of July 1st.
July 1st. Now, does this depend on the size of the business, micro business, big business, small business, everybody?
Almost virtually every kind of business, and there's a couple exceptions which I'll get into in a minute, but even a business with 2 employees is covered by this law and is affected by this law. So anybody that owns a business really needs to pay attention to it.
Wow. So what are some of these other details that we need to know about?
Good question. First of all, let's talk about who doesn't have to be concerned with it. Any business that has that is covered by a collective bargaining agreement, say contractors, and they have a collective bargaining agreement, that isn't covered. So that's one of the few exceptions to the rule. But really, the devil is in the details, right?
Robert, I just want to clarify one thing.
Sure.
Part-time workers get benefits and paid sick leave. If I have a worker, I used to own a small restaurant. I have workers working part-time, minimum wage workers, working 20 hours a week. If they call in sick, they get paid sick leave?
After they've served for 30 hours, or I should say worked for 30 hours, after they've accumulated 30 hours of work time, part-time or otherwise, or seasonal, they are eligible to receive benefits.
So this is what we used to hear about last year, that the designation of a full-time worker dropped from 40 hours a week to 30 hours a week, essentially.
Well, this really doesn't relate to that, because even if someone works 10 hours a week, once they've accumulated 30 hours,
you mean 30 hours total, not 30 hours per week?
Exactly.
Once they've worked for me 30 hours?
Yes.
All right, you better pay attention to this out here.
Absolutely.
But we've got a minute left, so I want to skip ahead. Spouses, children, how are they covered under this?
Not only are spouses and children covered, but registered domestic partners are covered, and also grandparents and in-laws are covered by this law. Meaning if you're a worker and an employee and you need to take time off to care for a sick mother-in-law or grandparent, the employer is obligated to pay for at least it's 1 day for every 30 hours of work that you accumulate.
So Robert, my question is, a small business owner, and I read this, I said, well, how am I supposed to pay for this?
Many business owners already have this, but they don't have it quite written up this way. And it could get expensive, but there is a cap.
Okay, so what is the penalty if I say, you know what, this just doesn't sound quite right for me. I think I'm not going to do this.
Penalties are severe. We're talking about $250 per day per employee, up to $4,000 a year per employee.
So they just have to calculate. Is it worth it to? Is it going to be more than that
exactly.
to actually to pay the?
Well, Robert, as we wrap up here, I think there's an important question. This is going to have to be the last word. We'll give it to you. What can employers do to prevent some of these problems that we've been talking about and foreseeing?
Well, prevention is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. First thing they need to do right away is compare whatever policies they have today to what the law is. That's number one. Number two, they should contact either their payroll company to get information, or their HR company, or their labor lawyer if they have one.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Robert.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for having
me. This news. It's a lot of people are going to be interested in that.
Joseph, you know what's coming up next?
Yes, I know.
Pastries. And pastries covers a pretty broad area of food, including desserts, breads, and more.
Well, we've invited Karen Hansen with Copenhagen-based pastry to tell us about making rye bread sandwiches. And why not for this washboard right here. That's coming up next.